There's no drinking, there's no drugs, there's no violence unless you count porcupine on dog violence.
Which was his fault.
It was his fault. He should have left that porcupine alone. Everybody was telling him to.
Yep.
Leave it alone, Chance, and he didn't leave it alone. This is the point of, you got to train your dogs, people.
Welcome to another episode of Business for Kids. I am Jonathan Beard of Blevins.
I'm Katie, MrsRuvi.
MrsRuvi, I have a question for you. We're talking about one of the all-time cinematic greats today. Top 5
I'm trying to remember what
animal movie
now.
of all time.
Ah.
Not even particularly close, including animated.
Are you asking me to list?
Nope, I'm just telling you that's what we're talking about today.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Homeward Bound.
Yes, it is.
Question for you.
Uh-huh.
What is your favorite animal movie of all time?
My favorite animal movie of all time. We talked about it in Planet of the Apes. Animal movies are not really my thing, but I think it would actually be Homeward Bound.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Mine is a tie between Homeward Bound and Mighty Joe Young.
Never saw it.
Mighty Joe Young. Are you serious? It's this massive gorilla that becomes friends with this woman who's studying
Charlize Theron.
Oh my gosh, you actually know the actress.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like besties, and she saves his life and he saves her life, and in the end she has to release him in the wild, and it just breaks my heart every single time.
At least she didn't release him to the Cincinnati Zoo.
Is that a Harambe joke?
No. Sorry, it's too soon.
Did you know that Harambe, the kid, is now like 12 or 13 years old? Do you think he's getting bullied? I hope not. It's not his fault. His parents were
I would like to walk away from
idiots.
that. Like, I feel bad about this conversation. I don't want to have
Why?
it anymore.
Why? It's a
I don't
really
know.
important conversation to have.
Okay, so when that whole thing
is
went
letting
down,
your kid sneak into a gorilla cage for kids?
when that
No.
happened, I had 4 kids, 1 small baby. My son, my youngest son was a baby, and my oldest son was a little bit of a handful. You know, it was not well regulated, and it took a long time to get that sorted. And then that same summer, we went to the zoo, the National Zoo in Washington D.C., and I was like, "Oh Lord, please don't let my kid find his way into the monkey tent." Like, that was my just the whole way through the zoo. Please don't let this happen to me, Lord. So I feel bad for that kid's parents.
I do not.
Universally
I do not,
despised.
and nor would I have felt bad for you if something happened to your son.
Wow.
Because if you have that going on, don't take your kid to the zoo. I mean, or put him in the stroller and don't let him out. I'm being dead serious.
He was like
you
8.
You don't take someone with an active bleeding arm on a dolphin cruise to go tubing in the ocean. Like, you're just asking for trouble.
We have gone down such a rabbit hole right now.
I think it's
Such a
worth
rabbit
it.
hole.
I think it's worth it. We're talking about Homeward Bound today. Speaking of rabbit holes. Oh, there's some crazy Reddit rabbit holes on Homeward Bound.
Are there?
Yes.
Okay, so when we selected these movies, this fell into a category of what do they call it? Problematic movies.
Yeah. Animal rights.
People consider this one problematic, but I could not figure out why. Is it from
Animal
an animal
rights.
rights perspective?
So it's pretty, and from all the research I've done,
Which
which
is extensive.
is 30 minutes on Google,
Wrote his doctoral dissertation.
a little bit on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, there are people out there who think that I shouldn't even say that are worried that the treating of the animals in filming Homeward Bound was unethical, and that, like, the way that Chance had porcupines in his face that were plucked out.
It felt like that was fake, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They used multiple animals, as far as I could tell, in filming, like 10 cats to film the cat scenes. They took crazy precaution with all of the nature scenes, with with the dogs when they're on, like, the water and floating. Like, they were super safe. Guess how many animals?
Scene, though, seemed real bad.
It did seem bad. Guess how many animals were harmed and or killed in the making of Homeward Bound?
42.
0.
Oh.
So I don't really understand the backlash, but it was fun to go down that rabbit hole a little bit. But Homeward Bound, for those who don't know, classic movie. Family has 3 kids and 3 pets. I always thought that was really interesting, that they each kind of had a pet that represented, like, their personality a little bit. 2 sons and a little daughter, 2 dogs and a cat, little Sassy. Which is funny because I loved her character, but she was the reason I hated cats, which doesn't really make sense. Like, I'd laughed at a lot of her jokes as a kid, but looking back, like, she's the reason why I started to not like cats.
She's quite sassy.
Maybe that's why.
And she's very prissy.
Maybe it's just because she wasn't nice to Chance, and Chance was awesome.
Chance was the best, wasn't he?
He was just adorable.
Such a good
So
dog.
the family moves away, and they leave the animals at this barn at this farm essentially, and they're going to go get them later. And the animals think they're being left behind. And so they go off on an adventure through the wilderness of California to find the family that they believe has abandoned them.
Yeah. Well, they don't think they're abandoned. They think something bad has happened. But yeah.
How did I do?
They did a great job.
That's better than usual on a summary.
You did a great job.
Because I've seen that movie 100 times.
Good. That's good.
Yeah, it was my favorite movie growing up. Dead serious. Good. Absolute favorite movie growing up. What are your thoughts in general?
So I watched this. I watched it a bunch as a kid because it's one of those movies that used to get put into when your teacher was maybe hungover. You reeled in.
Oh my gosh, I never even thought of that. That maybe some of my teachers were hungover.
I hate to have ruined your childhood.
Oh my gosh. Okay, keep going.
Anyway, they would like wheel in the thing and you're like, okay, we're watching Homeward Bound today. And you're like, what is the educational quality of this movie? And they're like, it's about animals. It's fine. Whatever. Just watch it. Shh. Quiet. Mrs. Smith is tired. Mrs. Smith has a headache today. Right? So you're watching this. I probably saw it in school more times than I saw it anywhere else because it was just like such a family friendly, easy to watch movie. No swears, nothing scary or whatever that would get you in trouble at school. But then I rewatched it this time with my littlest daughter. She's 3. And she was just so enamored. Like she was staring at it. She was like, Mommy, who's talking? She was very confused because the animals' mouths don't move. It's not like...
there's no CGI.
No CGI at all. So it's not like Planet of the Apes. And she's like, he's not talking. He's a dog. But he's talking. Who's talking? Like she just spent the entire time until I could convince her that those voices went with those characters. And then she was very excited, but she was so invested. Where's the kitty going? Why is the kitty in the water? Are they going to get the kitty out of the water? She was just, all in. And it was super fun to watch with her.
Was she sad at all? Was it traumatizing at all?
No.
Okay. This is one of the movies I remember watching when I was a kid that I was really, really sad during. Like Land Before Time. You know, he finds Mama. Oof, that's tough.
Yeah.
Simba finding Mufasa. Tough stuff.
Right.
Homeward Bound, thinking Shadow's dead at the end. Tough.
That was sad, right?
Tough.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had to have left Shadow.
I know. His leg.
Yeah, he was limping.
Poor guy.
I know. I hope that they didn't need to set anything because at his age.
So in your mind, perfect movie for kids.
Yeah, absolutely perfect movie.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Oh, go ahead.
Don't you think that the name calling between the animals was a little much?
Yeah, it was. That was definitely indicative of the time.
Yeah,
They call name calling was a lot more accepted, I guess, back then.
Yeah.
We don't really do that. Like we tend to tell people it's not nice. We don't do that anymore. But I don't know. It doesn't bother me that much when they're clearly being unkind to one another. You say, oh, that wasn't nice. And that kind of covers that you don't need to nix a movie entirely because somebody calls you a butt sniffer. She calls him a butt sniffer.
Oh, not a butt face.
Yeah, which is true. He is a butt sniffer.
I mean, he is.
He's a dog.
He's a dog.
Yeah, so that's a thing. But it's not a thing that I would discount the movie entirely for. There's no swearing. There's no drinking. There's no drugs. There's no violence unless you count porcupine on dog violence.
Which was his fault.
It was his fault. He should have left that porcupine alone. Everybody was telling him to.
Yep.
Leave it alone, Chance. And he didn't leave it alone. This is the point of, you got to train your dogs, people. I used to live in Arizona.
Thing, yeah.
Rattlesnake aversion training is a whole thing for dogs.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's very important. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I just think that this is one of, I asked that question because that's the only thing I could find wrong with this movie was the name calling. So if I had a 7, 5, and 3-year-old, the one concern I would have is that they started calling each other those names that they've never heard of before.
Yeah.
But that's nothing. You teach your kids not to do that. It's not a huge deal. In my mind, perfect movie for kids. Sassy counting her lives throughout the movie is one of my favorite things ever. Chance getting hit by the porcupine is classic, and then the ending.
It bit me with its butt.
the ending is just unbelievable. Where
so good.
Individually the animals come back. There's a sad moment. Spoiler alert. But I think it's a great movie. We need more movies like this. And I'm gonna go ahead and say one of the best movie endings that I can remember as a kid.
Okay.
There's better ones now. As I'm an adult and I understand film more, there's better endings, but that ending as a kid for me
so good.
Was so rewarding. And they didn't delay super long. Yeah. Maybe when I was a kid it felt like it was long, but when I rewatched it, it was oh my gosh, it was 10 seconds and then Shadow was there too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really sorry because I'm waiting for you to say one specific thing and you're not saying it.
What?
your favorite gripe in movies about there being no strong male characters is 100% put to lie with this movie. Like, it's fantastic. Shadow is an old man character. He's so wise.
Yep.
You've got Chance, who's young and silly, but he grows into it. He learns to love people. And then you've got the father figure, Bob, who marries into the family at the very beginning. It's evident their father has died or is in some way gone. So their mother is remarrying, and he is a good dad. Like, he goes above and beyond to help these kids. He doesn't tell them that he's putting out these, I was going to call them APBs, but that's not a thing for a dog. But you know what I mean? Like, he's doing all this stuff to try to recover the dogs, and the kids don't even know about it because he doesn't want to get their hopes up because he's a good dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I guess I only notice I need to start affirming when it happens in a good way instead of just being negative to movies that are...
Well, because I don't think you're alone in that. I think that there are tons of people who are watching, maybe not this podcast, or maybe, so let me know in the comments if you're watching for that specifically. But there's a lot of men out there who are looking for good representation of fatherhood and men in general. It's a fair gripe because there's not a lot of that out there. And if we can point to one and say, hey, like we did with Damsel, this is a good girl power movie, and then we can look back at this and say this is a good fatherhood empowerment. I couldn't think of words. This is a good movie for that, and it's important to have that balance and to be able to present both of those sides.
Agree 100%. I just grabbed my phone because I was looking to see if I still have my messages saved. One of my biggest, worst habits is that when I respond to someone and I don't have to respond again until they text back, I'll delete it so that I know that I responded. And then the next time that I'm scrolling through to make sure I respond to everybody. Anyway, it's long.
That's some sketchy behavior.
Why is that sketchy?
Deleting texts.
I delete. That's how. Okay. So I stream. Okay, all day long, and then I'm in meetings all day. When I used to have a job, like a normal job, I could just answer the phone throughout the day or text throughout the day. Now I can't, and so I end up getting, and I'm not exaggerating, I get like between 50 and 120 texts a day. Okay. So, and I can't respond to all of them, and so once a week I take an hour and I lay in bed, or I'll go on do it on my walk, and I will scroll all the way to the bottom, and I will literally respond to every text that I didn't respond to and delete the ones I have so that I know I responded to it.
We should cut this entire part of the podcast.
Why? It's really interesting.
How John maintains his inbox.
I think it's really interesting.
This one wasn't long either. We're at 12 minutes, so.
Yeah, that people think I'm interesting sometimes. Anyway, I was looking for a text message from my friend Patrick.
Nevy?
Yes.
I love Patrick Nevy.
Who sent me a giant text after listening to our podcast. This is for kids. He's a fan of it. He's got a young family of his own. And
I got the same text.
He agreed
like, John
with me.
John is not wrong.
Yes, I can't.
Go ahead.
I can't share. I can't share the data. So this is anecdotal at best for now. But he's a very smart guy, and he did a whole research study.
I think I have that text.
Over the course of years of content, where he looked at men and women and the average portrayal of them in movies and in media, and by far and away women were portrayed as better, smarter, kinder, more loving, etc., and men were like Homer Simpson. And that is what I'm talking about when I say we need more male, strong male characters, particularly fathers, in media.
He sent that as a voice message. That's why we didn't get it. It's not in there anymore.
Yeah, but then he sent me another a bodied text that he did write, but I deleted it.
Dang
I delete texts.
I don't have it.
So, but anyway, yeah, that's a great point. There's a lot of great male characters in this, and female too. Sassy was great. The mom was awesome. The little daughter was great.
Everybody has good respect for everybody. You don't get that sense that the little girl was treated like she was snotty because she had a dog, or a cat. Sometimes you get that they do this cats rule and dogs drool thing throughout the entire thing, but that was never applied to boys and girls, which is kind of fun. You don't need to have that battle of the sexes animosity. You can keep it to dogs and cats.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say this movie is appropriate for any age. Just be careful with your kids who are very sensitive. Just talk them through all the sad parts at the end.
Yeah. But it's sometimes okay to look at that. Did you know that the voice actor Don Amici, who did the voice of Shadow, died the same year that this movie was released?
Whoa, I did not know that.
It came out in February. He died in December.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Very sad.
Remind me, I'm going to write down something for a note for later.
I totally Googled that guy and thought he was Gomez Adams. Anyway.
Interesting.
Hey, This was a lot of fun. Hey, if people wanted to look at more of this, where would they find it?
They go to isthisforkids.com and find us on YouTube or Instagram. Interact with us. Suggest anything they'd like to hear us talk about, and just be part of our awesome community.
Yeah. And if you're on YouTube right now, there's a subscribe button down here. You should hit that. And then go into the comments and give me your best tip for keeping your inbox clean, because I'd like to hear it.
That's good. Way to keep it in there. I love it.
There it is.
There's just a lot of media out there
for us to navigate as parents.
I'm Jonathan Beard of Blevins.
I'm Katie, MrsRuvi. Let us help you decide.
Is this for kids?
Is it?